especially considering they already had that opportunity before, but we'll get to that later. The final episode is going to be 1 hour long, and during that time we'll see a lot of things. I'm sure the characters are going to go through different ways to escape, and one of them actually could work, but for that to happen, absolutely everything would need to line up perfectly, and I think the chances are no higher than 0.1%. After watching episode 8, it becomes especially interesting to look deeper into some details from the previous episodes and to understand that the digital circus really is a system you can escape from, and that this entire horror could have been avoided altogether. Let's talk about Abel's plan from episode 7. First off, it's important to understand who Abel is, because he is one of the key characters in this theory. Pay attention to the moment when Abel explains to the others that they need to be quieter, since Cain can be watching everything that's going on. The show creators put a clear emphasis on the paintings that show Cain's eyes. We will come back to this a bit later, but for now let's talk a little about Abel. After he shared his story of interacting with C and A, the focus shifted to the escape plan.
So, theoretically, if we were to access the master console hidden deep within Cain's office, we could terminate it.
At this point we have several contradictions. One of the main signs that all of this was a lie from the start is the drawn bee, the exact same one that Cain constantly draws. On one hand, this really points to Cain's involvement in all of this. But why did you decide that Cain drew the bee during the development of this plan? Why did nobody think that Cain could have first seen the real escape plan and only then added the bee to it? If you pay attention, then Cain is almost always drawing, and he could have done this by accident. If you think about it, then none of the characters pay attention to the fact that Cain always draws bees. We as fans of the digital circus and people who love noticing tiny details know this, but it's very unlikely that the characters are just as aware of it. Considering that Cain is actually a pretty scatterbrained AI, then I can really imagine that he kinda automatically drew the bee after accidentally discovering the escape plan, and so that nobody would discover it. He made what seemed like the best decision, just crossing out the bee. I get that way too much time was spent on this detail, but it was insanely important to do this so you understand that things here aren't as one-sided as they seem at first. Now we move to the final scene of episode 7 and pay attention to Kinger's words. He mentioned someone named Scratch and said that this was the first abstraction. Here things get really interesting, cause after this character disappeared, we saw the hot dog pendant. Obviously, this pendant belonged to the character everyone nicknamed Dobby, and even the show creators confirmed his name. Considering that Scratch was officially confirmed as this character's name, we now get that it's just a small joke from the creators, which also helps us connect Scratch and Hot Dog right now, which means Abel is a kind of reincarnation of Scratch, who as we now know was one of the first developers of the digital circus. Knowing this, it's important for us to understand who this mannequin was throughout the entire episode. Was it Scratch the whole time? Or maybe this was already Abel created by Cain. However, there is a high chance that we saw two different characters inside one mannequin. What if at first this was Scratch, but then Cain replaced him with Abel?